What's it really like owning a business with your spouse? It's not always easy, it's not always fun, but how to myself and Nikki, my wife, that we've been together for 25 years, how do we make it work?
This is a question we get asked quite often. And I think, there's always the standard answer of like, we just do it, but how real are we getting today? Are we giving like the nitty gritty and the tea? Like, what are we doing?
I think we found it out. Well, I think, to be honest, I think that we've done booths with CallBoss and Little John's. We've had booths, and we've toured many companies. We've had people tour our shop, and we get asked that question a lot. And then we get asked that question a lot, and people are like, "Oh, I work with my spouse," and the reality is that they don't really work with their spouse. Like their spouse is like kind of hops in, buys goodies for the people in the office, and they kind of go away. For Nikki and I, when we started in 2012, we had a conversation, and we decided to start Little John's Lawns, and it was for a joke, right? I'll call Little John's Lawns, whatever.
We'll see what happens.
I grew up, my parents owning small companies or owning companies. Nikki didn't. What was your background?
Go to school, go to work, get a job, and stay there for retirement, till the end.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. The easier way. So I didn't have that. I had parents that came from very different upbringings. My dad came from an orphanage. My mom grew up in a very hard household. My dad, goes to Vietnam, gets out, loses both his legs in a train accident, and his 25th birthday. Spent 9 days in the hospital, and he realized really fast that nobody was going to hire him. So from an early onset, my dad figured out how to start businesses, make money. Met my mom, and they just were like a power couple. And really, looking back, I think, man, I learned a lot more than I thought, and how they interacted with each other and operate. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was normal. I thought that was the right thing, right? So when I met Nikki, and the first time I met her, we were 18 years old, and when we eventually worked together, and we started this business in 2012, and we had a conversation. Yeah. I just assumed that we'll just work together because that's what I grew up with, and I knew no different. The reality is that Nikki really wanted to get fired on a daily basis. And why was that?
It's just really hard working with you. Well, at least in the beginning, our level of communication was not good. And so everything was trial and error, figure it out. You're outside running by yourself in the beginning, and then a small team, one crew, and then I was in the office trying to make sure that everything was done. Go back to what you were saying about your dad. He was truly one of the hardest working people ever. And I think by you seeing his work ethic and what he was trying to build for your family gave you a crazy work ethic. And I think that doesn't go unnoticed. And I think the people in the building here at CallBoss, Little John's, both, they all see how hard you work. And our kids see it too, because our kids work really hard. They're hustlers, they're grinders, and that all stems from your work ethic, so kudos to you.
I appreciate it.
But you drug our deal, because I did want to get fired all the time. Just because it is hard to come to the same solution with your partner every day, because it's not always easy. So for me, it was easier to just say, dude, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't want to do this. And honestly, looking back 12 years ago, I don't think I knew what I was capable of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in the very beginning, mindset, right? My dad, you don't say no. You didn't say, oh, I can't do that, it's too hard. You're going to figure it out. And I am hard on our kids, and I feel like I don't understand why people don't want to work as hard as me, and I really do have to struggle with that. And Nikki, even to this day, is hey, take a step back, because I just don't know. I just have a drive, and I don't want to let my family down. I think it's the big one. I was taught that by my dad. You don't want your family is everything, and you can't let them down, right? And I have no intentions of ever letting Nikki down and my kids, because I want to create the best life possible for ourselves and Nikki. You know, I want to take her around the world. I want to travel, and we want to do all these things. And you know, 13 years in the business, and we've been building and building and building. And it's like, it's coming. You can feel it, right? And it's just, but that's part of it. And so go back to the beginning. You know, when we started, it was like, you have to. You're the only one that's going to solve it, right? You don't have anybody else. Like, you go work for somebody, like, well, that's the supervisor's problem or the manager's problem. Like, well, that problem just fell back on you, right? And their customer, the lead, is asking for a solution, and they want it fixed. And like, I didn't have a background in landscape maintenance when we started. So when I like doing this, it was just figuring it out on the fly. And I'll say this: I think you have to be smart enough to know that you need to ask for help. The first guy that I hired, there's a whole story behind like how we got started, right? But the first guy that I hired, his name was Jose. And Jose had been in landscaping since she was a little kid, 12, 13, 14. Then I told him, I said, listen, man, I'm just this dumb white guy, man. I don't know jack. Can you please help me? So that's how it all started. And I think with like Nikki, like looking back, I think you were kind of left on an island, right? Like, cause you know, I need help. I'm out in the field. I'm trying to figure it out. We don't know where to go and what to do. And, you know, there's like kind of disarray because we didn't have any money. We didn't have a safety net. We didn't have any of that stuff. And I think that just added to the pressure of like, oh my God, we have to make this work. We have little kids.
Yeah.
Right? We have rent.
Well, there's just so much that we didn't know. So like, in saying that, right, I started in the office, just paperwork, notebooks, because then I could keep track of everything.
Right.
Desk calendar, lining all the properties up on certain days so you know where you were going. And this, you know, that's pre-software. That's like beginning. We don't know where to go. And then once you start looking at what are ways to make things easier, then we found software. We knew we needed phones right off the bat. Started out with your cell phone, which was such a bust.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
We recommend that to everybody, don't do that. But then we found, you know, a phone system that would work, tried it out, got to a better one later on, like all the things that we built upon. But as leaders of the company now, we have a hard time looking at the people that work for us going, why can't you figure that out? Because we have such a drive and we had no one to fall back on. So it was like, we have to dig in, research, figure it out, and solve all the problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that even though that you had talked about, you know, getting fired on a regular basis, and there was some truth to that for sure. Mm-hmm. And I questioned it as well, like, do we keep going? Because it was incredibly hard in the very beginning.
It was probably like year 1 and 2, where I was just like, F this crap.
And so I think in the very beginning, like, you know, you're trying to figure out, like you said, and you're trying to do all these things, but the one credit that I give, I guess, to ourselves is that we weren't afraid to try. And not having a background in landscape, I think, was kind of our secret sauce. Because I started listening to Lawn Care Millionaire, which is Jonathan Prokoshnik, and then we decided to start Autopilot, and then we were so broke. And I'm so grateful for Nikki hanging in there because we went to the first academy, or the first conference at Service Autopilot.
Yeah.
And it was like boiler room. It felt like we sat in this room and we're like, it had speakers, and it was almost too much information for me anyways, because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like breathing through a fire hose. But we were so broke that like we were making sandwiches in our room. We were super happy because they had like a drink ticket night and we could go get like a drink or two. Not that we're big drinkers, but it was just like,
how can we save money?
Yes, absolutely. So
didn't have the money either.
Yeah, remember we had the shirts made just for that event, had like a little logo on it. We were like, yeah, we're out stuff. Official, right? So I think like you have to really, looking back, and I think what Nikki and I have done really, really well is that we've gotten better at communicating.
For sure.
Yeah, we have a lot more conversations, and it's kind of funny. Like we'll interview people, and they're like, man, you guys are like, you just bounce things off each other all the time. Like we constantly are just like, you know, what about this, what about that?
Yeah.
Do we get on each other's nerves? Absolutely. So I'm going to get on Nikki's nerves all the time, probably daily. But I think I'm very grateful of the fact that she kind of brings herself back in and like, okay, well, let's get this problem figured out and let's do this, right?
Yeah.
I'll say also, like, how long have we been going to counseling? 4 years?
Probably longer than that.
Okay, we've been going to counseling a long time. And I think that was I actually asked to go to counseling, and there wasn't anything wrong with our marriage. But I think owning a business together, having family, and kids and all the things, like we needed to like make sure that we're grounded. And you look around and people get divorced I felt it all the time. And I just didn't want that to happen. And we're unique in the fact that we have a different stressor, right? We were dependent on ourselves running this business in the, 70 employees that we have in between the companies. And now we're getting ready we're bringing on another company. But all those people are dependent on us. And for us to be able to get away for an hour every other week, we go into this place, and if there's a problem, we talk about it. And then most of the time, we literally in there like solving problems in business, which is kind of funny. And we apologize to our therapist, and she's like, "Nope, this is what you guys need."
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So I think working together is hard.
It is.
I think most couples can't do it, or there's an ego that gets in the way, right? And I think that we have found a good rhythm. You know, I think. Nikki's very, very good on the admin side, very good at like the empathy side, really caring, and I think it's incredible. It's incredible virtue to have. I'm probably more down to I want to get stuff done, right? And nothing moves fast enough, and I have to kind of figure it out. And we're in that season right now in our businesses. Like things aren't moving as fast as I want them to. But I have to kind of take a deep breath, right?
Yeah, you see things in a way that people don't typically see them, and you're always in problem solve. So like we always kid like John's MacGyver, give him some oil like gum wrapper, and he can make stuff happen. But he looks at stuff from like an analytical or even like an engineering mind, where he's like, well, if that doesn't work, why don't we try this? And it's like, oh, I wasn't even thinking that. So you bring a lot to the table. But going back to like when you're talking about people's spouses, a lot of times people always assume that the wives just like do the books. I don't know what that is, but every time we talk to people who aren't business owners, they're like, so what do? The books?
Do you answer the phones?
Oh, is that what you do? You talk to customers?
Yeah.
And it's like at this point in the game, not anymore. At this point in the game, like there's so much more involved when you co-own companies that people don't even think about. Like, if you're just starting a company and you want to do something, a lot of times people don't think about the insurance you need to have, or the licensing you have to have, or keeping up with that, or vehicle emissions when you have 20 trucks out there. Like somebody's got to be in charge of all that stuff. And while it's nice, kind of, I guess, that people say like, what do? The books? No, there's so much more that has to be done that some of these spouses do for these companies that people aren't even seeing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're exactly right, because we'll go places and they assume, they assume like, oh, little John's like, Nikki's just over here, this little thing, right? She's heavily involved. And at CallBoss, it's the same. Like, oh, well, CallBoss is Nikki's. No, we work together heavy on CallBoss. It's just, they're just assume, right? Because it's a little softer, the branding's softer, but oh, that's Nikki's thing, right? And it's kind of funny because I think we talk about our businesses a lot, like that's intertwined with our life. But we have goals, right? We have these really big goals set for ourselves, and being at 13 years in business is a feat in itself, and
Absolutely.
having another business at for 6 years and being over 7 figures on both companies, like. It's a feat within itself, and I think that speaks volumes for, us learning how to work together. And I'll say this, like, I got lucky with Nikki, right? I really did, and because I think there's too many instances you'll see that couples are there out of convenience, but they're not trying to make their marriage better. And I think that like the stress of truly owning and running a company together would wreck most relationships.
Yeah, there's so many things that have happened along the way where it could have been marriage breaking for us.
Absolutely.
You know, just like different things that happen in the business, like things you don't plan for, and then there's always catastrophes, right? And when those catastrophes hit, we are in so much of a better place now that we can calm down, talk about it, figure out what to do versus instant freak out pop off, right? Because in the beginning, I mean, 12 years ago, we were younger, of course, and my tolerance level was low. Your tolerance level was low. We had younger kids, and it was just like, if everything's bad, then just blow it all up. Who cares? But now we can take, okay, these are crisis moments. This is like an apocalypse at one of the businesses, but we're going to figure out a solution. It's going to be painful for a minute, and we're probably going to have words with each other for a minute, but we always come back to, okay, we got to solve it together.
That's right. Yeah, and I think that's very true because, you know, it's easy to be like, man, blah, 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 and you say stuff that you probably shouldn't have said, but it's hard to circle back around and forgive that person and or ask for forgiveness, right? But Nikki and I think that's what's unique in us is that happens pretty natural.
Now, yeah. See, we had to learn about the negative cycle. And once we learned about the negative cycle and when the triggers happen, okay, now we recognize, okay, that's totally triggering me and I'm about to get crazy, right? No, not get crazy. But if I were going to, we can now recognize what it is that's setting me off. So it might be like, and you get set off for different reasons. So for me, I'm like, oh, your tone of voice wasn't good. That's going to make me like really mad. But we recognize it now and like, I don't like the way you said that. And you may not have meant for it to come across negatively, but now I recognize it and I can say something to you so we don't end up in the pop-off.
The pop-off. but so that statement right there is very true because that happens quite a bit. It's not, I'm not saying that like daily, but probably once or twice a week, like, hey, I don't like the way that came across, or hey, and I'm not put a filter on it when I'm talking to Nikki. I'm like, hey, this is the thing that's going on. We need this. And I'm just like moved on. And she's like, time out, you know? And I was like, oh, shoot, I'm sorry. That's not what
That's for both of us too, though, because I know I do stuff that makes you mad quite regularly. But I'm trying to be aware of like my face, right?
Yeah.
My face will just change, and then you're like,
yeah. Or the God sex. Nikki is the worst. I have my office door closed, and I'm like trying to figure out something. She's like, hey, you gotta say. I'm like,
I have a pass. I'm the wife. I get to walk in that door anytime I want. Be like, hey, I just need 1 second. But literally, I do try to like keep it very short, so I can get back to what I need to do.
Yeah. So seeing yourself in the beginning and then like looking back and where I now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess we've had like an immense amount of growth as a couple and a business, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much. Like in the beginning, you just don't know what you don't know. And that's the thing that we try to portray to like other business owners especially when they're calling in CallBoss and they want to get service, but they're hesitant, they're on the fence. And it's like, if you haven't got to a certain level in your business, you won't know how to tackle everything that's coming.
Right.
And you don't even know necessarily what's coming. But because we've been there, we can give some guidance and help. And so it's just interesting to see where we were, all the things we didn't know. Thank you to all of our original customers who are still sticking it out with us, because in the beginning we were like, we think that card looks good.
We think everything's okay.
We think that's fine. And now it's really dialed in. Our teams are dialed in. They're getting trained. Like, we've just made so many changes. The leadership alone, right? The level that we lead on, that we coach on, that wasn't there in the beginning. And it took going to conferences, going to classes, being in academy to learn different things to help us move our businesses further along. But also, we've always appreciated the people that work for us. but it's really how do we take care of the good ones that work for us and want to be on this team.
And just a little side note for the people who work for us, just because they work for you and you care for them, sometimes you gotta let them go, right? Sometimes they're not, they've hit their limit, right? They've hit their season, as Nikki would say. And so you have to recognize that, and it's both, it's good for both parties. And even though it doesn't feel that way, sometimes you gotta do that. And that's growth that we've had. I would also say that, like, if you're gonna go invest your time at a conference, you gotta figure out your kid's situation, because if you and your wife are truly in this together, you need to go and sit and take in what is happening at the conferences. You need to be involved, immerse yourself in the conversation, listen to what the speakers are telling you. Don't be distracted, right? So, we have CallBoss, which is an admin service based that can answer your phones and do all these amazing things. And I just look around when we go to conferences on how many people spend all this money and sit in the back and they're just constantly on the phone because they're trying to deal with the customers, leads, etc. that's calling in, and they're not focused where they could advance their business if they just would lock in or just would get the help. You talked about you need to grow, right? Growing enough to understand that you're in your way, and I think that part for us, like, we're getting ready to make another hire here at Little John's, and we can't, this is really in our budget, not necessarily, but we know, our gut tells us, or we've had multiple conversations, that this is the position we need, and by hiring this position, it's going to do this for us. And I think that you would have done that, we would have done it 10 years ago? No way, man. No way, because we didn't grow, our minds hadn't grown enough to, one, to have that conversation,
Right.
And two, to be open to, like, hey, we might be the bottlenecks.
For sure. And 10 years ago, we didn't have any money, right? 2 years into the business. We're getting better. But at that time when you're small and you're struggling and you're just trying to make payroll for like 5 employees, and it's a big deal, you can't see the things that you need to see, and you can't fathom how you can pay for things that you need. So fast forward to where we are now, we know we need someone at a higher level of quality control to ensure our product is great, and it's lacking. We're losing customers, which happens, but it's all preventable. And so right now it's like we could take on the challenge, not that we have more time, but we try to find a way to fix it, or we can suck it up, we can find some wiggle room in the budget, try to make it happen, which we'll figure out that'll happen, and then that can be their sole focus, at least one of the tasks. But one of the main things is client retention. That's going to pay for itself by keeping those clients and us not having to acquire new ones. We're going to save the ones that we have.
Right, absolutely. And just talking about cancellations, like, currently we're almost halfway through this month, we have 3 cancellations. We've added 20 new customers this month. We have roughly 2,600 active customers. So, but we want to do better, right? Doing okay is not okay. Like, we always need to try to improve ourselves. And I think that, like, for Nikki to talk about that right now, like, that's huge. Because we run the same way we try to. So I think recapping all of it is, it's hard, right? Especially when you have kids and you have all these things, right? And I think you have to be open enough to, like, bite your tongue, swallow some pride, right? Because you're not doing it by yourself anymore, you're doing it with somebody else, right? And it's even intertwined because you're married, and like, you have to be okay with, like, not being okay,
Right.
And you have to be okay, like, hey, this is gonna hurt some feelings, but I gotta say this and I gotta get this out, and, like, I know you love me and I know it's gonna be okay, but, like, like, those moments not gonna be great, right? And we've had those moments, so and I'm sure there's more to come. But I also think that, like, growing older together and having these businesses, like, it's just a maturity, I think, of us being together and knowing that we can do it. She has incredible trust in me, and I in her, and it just evolves. Like, now, like, we take care of our bodies. We do a lot better on that side of it because we understand the longevity of the game that we're playing, right?
Yeah.
this isn't a survival anymore. This is like longevity. And if at Little John's we talk about if we're going to do it, we're going to kill it. We're going to dominate, right? And at CallBoss, like we're going to rule the world. So
World domination.
world domination. And then the next product that we're bringing on board, I'm really excited about, and we'll talk about that at some point in time. But I couldn't even fathom 12, 13 years ago, like where we're at right now. You know what I'm saying?
We were so stressed. We had no idea.
Yeah.
We were just trying to pay rent.
Yeah. And it's a stress. This is a different stress, but it is a stressor. It's a much larger dollar amount
For sure.
for on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. But
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, I'm super grateful we went through the beginning. I'm super grateful that our business has survived, you know, and it's like,
They're still pushing.
still pushing.
Yeah, so the main thing I think for us working together is communication, which we've learned how to do better.
Yeah. And continue to work on.
For sure. Yeah, we still go to therapy. It's making us great. And aside from communication, I think another one that helps, which John doesn't embrace all the time, is a boundary. My boundaries are the businesses are closed at 4 p.m. So I typically shut it all down and then I don't answer anything, look at anything. I do look at some things, but I'm not actively doing stuff after 4 p.m.
Right.
Trying to like embrace family life. Granted, our kids are big now, we only have one small one left, but I have a shutdown time. And I'm working on John to have a shutdown time because I think it really does help. Now, granted, we talk about work a lot, and even though it's 4 o'clock and it's shut down at 8 o'clock, John's getting ready to go to bed, but they're right be up. Ooh, you know what? I thought about this. Maybe we can do this tomorrow. We'll talk about different things that can improve or ideas we have. That happens all the time. But as far as like daily in and out, like 4 o'clock, I have a boundary.
Yeah, my boundary's not very good.
Yeah.
And I also say, I think the other thing is we dream big. Right? We dream big. Like, we dream big in our businesses, we dream big in our life, right? And we have big dreams that we want to do together. And I think that's very important. If you go through life as a couple and you're running this business together, and if you don't have any goals or anything set forward, it's hard to get up every day and be like, yeah, let's go do this again. Fair?
Yeah.
Like, not in the near future, we're going to go after one of these big goals we've been trying to go after, and I'm excited for it. So, yeah, I think I got lucky. So I don't think I got lucky. I got lucky, and I think that I think a lot of people hopefully take this and can learn from it, and I hope that they get to have a little bit of different perspective from their spouse.
Yeah, don't take your spouse for granted. I couldn't do it without John, but you couldn't do it without me. But yeah, there's just so much to be done on any given day, and don't let what people say or think deter you from what you're doing. I mean, people thought we were crazy. We both didn't have jobs, and we're like, okay, let's just start a business. And we didn't know if we were gonna have any money, but it was worth it. No, it was worth taking the risk because look at where we are now, and we would never know if we had tried.
Exactly right. And you can't give up.
No.
And even when in the very beginning Nikki did want to give up, like I just wouldn't let her give up, right? Because
And I knew I wasn't quitting. How am I going to quit? Who is going to help you?
right.
John sending invoices? That's not going to happen.
No.
That's it. You're like, I've never sent an invoice. Have you?
I don't think I actually
I
have.
don't think so either.
No.
Not that didn't pass penny for it. Gotta check that later.
Right? I don't think I've done invoices, and I don't think actually wrote an actual estimate in Service Line 5.
I don't think so either, because in the beginning you just put them on paper and give them to me, and then I would type them up. So yeah, you know how to do everything here. I just don't think you have done everything.
No, yeah, that's true.
That's okay. I have not trimmed a bush.
True.
I'm mostly mean grass.
Yeah, man, the lines are straight.
No mohawks.
No mohawks. All right, well, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you joining us. See you on the next one.
See you on the next one.